Today on CityCast Nashville, it's time for our Friday News Roundup. Joining us are executive producer Whitney Pastorek and Metro Councilmember at-large Quin Segall. We're talking about the expansion of the Central Business Improvement District and what's going on with Metropolis parking. Plus, the results are in for the Nashville Scene's You Are So Nashville If. And y'all, they are oh so good. It's Friday, July 18th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Hello, friends. We have made it to Friday, which means we've officially hit the last day of our brand spanking new membership drive. That's CityCast Nashville Neighbors. Thank you all so much for joining. We still are hoping to get 15 more neighbors to join by the end of the day. So let's do it, folks. Please join us at membership.citycast.fm. All week long, you've been hearing from my whole team about why we want you to join. But y'all, we got a message earlier today from two members that joined, Mike and Sherry M. They wrote in and said, "We believe in what this group is doing and have benefited from their collective efforts. CityCast Nashville has provided us with a sense of community that we would not otherwise have here. The hyperlocal news delivered with a bit of humor and a dash of common sense keep us informed on the latest developments that might affect us and or our neighbors." Well, thank you, Mike and Sherry M. It is very important to me, of course, to keep a sense of humor about what all is happening in Nashville, but also combat the hard-hitting issues as well. You've heard from me all week, folks. I love this job. I love hosting this podcast. I love Nashville, and I especially love the people in it. I cannot wait to meet our members who have joined CityCast Nashville Neighbors. Go on and join yourself if you haven't yet. It's only $10 a month, $100 a year at membership.citycast.fm. And don't you forget that only this week, so today is your absolute last day to grab it, our CityCast Nashville exclusive founding members tote bag that I cannot wait to see y'all rocking all over this city. If I see one out in the wild, just get ready. I'm running up to you. I'm going to give you a hug with your consent. And I'm going to start the conversation and ask you, what do you want us to cover on our show? Because that's why we're doing this. We want to get to know you, become your neighbor, create our community, and give back. So again, $10 a month, $100 a year. Join us today at membership.citycast.fm. It seems like this past Tuesday night's Metro Council meeting was a spicy one. But before we get into it, we have to first acknowledge that it was Nashville Scene columnist and CityCast Nashville contributor Nicole Williams' last council meeting.
I know.
Quin, we heard that you had placed a bag of Swedish fish and an orchid at Nicole's usual spot in the back of the room. That is the sweetest thing. That's very nice.
It is. She's been sitting in the same seat for a million years, and you left her presence.
That's right. She's been there for years. I mean, she's been there since before I've been there, and she's done an incredible amount of work to bring attention to what's going on, not just at council, but at all of our boards and commissions across the city.
Out of her pandemic boredom, absolutely revolutionized the way that people in Nashville participate with their metro government. And so on behalf of a grateful city, Nicole, we love you. And we have good news, right, Marie?
That's right. So,
Dun-dun.
Yeah, good news. Nicole will no longer be here covering Metro Council. However, we still will be getting Nicole's hot take on just, other headlines in Nashville.
She'll be here every other week on the non-council week.
That makes me happy for y'all, but really happy for all of us.
Yay!
Okay. Now let's focus our attention on the fact that the Metro Council voted Tuesday night to expand Nashville's Central Business Improvement District, or CBID. Not CBD, folks. That's something different. CBID.
There's some overlap, right?
There's some overlap. I love that. Okay, so to include the Gulch. Quin, please help me here. Can you first explain what exactly is CBID?
Yeah, so we have a bunch of different mechanisms in Tennessee where we can levy what we generally call a special assessment or a special district fee to support unique infrastructure costs in that district. Currently in Nashville, we have 3 such active districts. We have the Central Business Improvement District, which is downtown. We have a business improvement district, so not a CBID, but just a bid in the Gulch. And then we have another business improvement district down in South Nashville. And that one is focused mostly on infrastructure. It operates a little differently than the others. These are basically taxes.
You were very vocal about the fact that this is, in fact, a tax at council. You gave a very impassioned comment about this. Why do you think it is important for people to understand that this is a tax on all of us who spend money downtown or in the Gulch?
Yeah, so I think functionally, what we hear a lot is this is really a district issue because this is like a property tax, and those who own property consent to it. However, a CBID in Tennessee can actually, under state law, assess what looks like a sales tax. It will show up as a sales tax on your bill. You will not, when you're spending money downtown, realize that it's any different from the state and local sales tax. It's not like all of us who pay sales tax can choose to opt into it. And so I think it's really important to recognize, look, this isn't just something that property owners are consenting to pay on their own property. It's something that they're forcing all of us who come and enjoy what they're providing on their property to pay as well. I was okay with this. I think those of us who spend any time in the Gulch know that the Gulch is a pretty expensive place to spend money. It has very high-end retail. The food is very expensive. I don't think that people who are going to eat fancy steak dinners and buy fancy furniture and clothes in the Gulch are going to necessarily notice a 0.5% increase in the sales tax. But it will exist there, and we have a right as a city to have some oversight to the extent that we're collecting these sales taxes. And those sales taxes are actually split. 50% of them goes to the Convention Center Authority under state law. We have some oversight over that because of our appointing powers. The other 50% goes to the Downtown Management Corporation, which is the CBID management. And what we were able to get this week was oversight on that board as well, which didn't exist before.
Let's talk about these amendments that were added to this bill. And again, folks at home, this has passed. This is happening. If you go to the Gulch, you are going to be paying that little tiny bit extra. But the most important part of this debate was these amendments. One of them, Amendment 1, was led by me and Marie's Councilmember, Sean Parker. And that seemed to be really the key to getting a lot of people like yourself on board with this bill.
Yeah, those amendments were important because they really will provide the ongoing oversight that I think is justified when you look at a CBID of what will be the size. And just to put this in context, I mean, we're talking, there's a budget in the sort of high 7 figures that they get from property taxes downtown right now. Between the NCVC and the Downtown Management Corporation, collected almost $8 million in sales tax for the last year. So, we're talking 8 figures, right, that they are spending of what is an assessment that looks like a tax, that walks like a tax, that talks like a tax. And that's a lot of money. And it directly goes to things that government should be paying for. We're talking picking up trash off the street. We're talking setting the scooters where they're supposed to go and making sure they're not blocking the sidewalk. The Downtown Partnership and the DMC do a lot of work when it comes to working with the beer board to make sure that those who are intoxicated are getting help if they need it downtown. These are things that government does. And it is things that this entity is doing in a way that makes it look like they are the government, right? So to the extent it's our money and they're doing government services and walking and talking like government, that's why that oversight becomes really important, because what we don't want is something that's totally private with no oversight, walking and talking and looking like our government and spending our money.
From what I understand, the entity that basically is in charge of CBID is the Downtown Partnership.
So the Downtown Management Corporation is the name of the official bid. The folks who run the DMC, as we call it, they have chosen to partnership with an entity called the Downtown Partnership to do the work that they would do. Then, just like any business uses other entities to do its work as well, some of this is public and some of this is not public. So my understanding is that they use an entity called Block by Block, but my guess is they have other subcontractors as well that they're using for some of this stuff too.
During public comment, then quite a few Nashville residents spoke in opposition because it turns out the Downtown Partnership has been contracting with what essentially is a secret police force downtown.
Yeah, the Nashville Banner reported on this earlier this year. They're working with a company called Solarin, and Jeremy Finley at WSMV has also been hot on this beat lately. He's helped expose how 209 people experiencing homelessness were arrested in downtown Nashville between 2023 and 2024, not by Metropolis, but by some off-duty Tennessee state troopers and then some other just people who use unmarked cars. They have people who are dressed up as though they're police, although they're not. And a whistleblower exposed that they were specifically instructed not to arrest drunk and rowdy tourists, but just to arrest our unhoused neighbors. So Solarin is in some legal proceedings around this with the Tennessee Department of Commerce and Insurance, and I'm pretty sure they now know they cannot pretend to be police officers anymore under a threat of a pretty hefty fine. This seems kind of funky and not great, Quin.
And it's also largely a function of state law. So all of this is state law enabled. It came through Metro, and I think we could have probably not approved it. I think had we done that, we certainly would have been overruled by our overlords. There have been changes as to how they have to appear. They also now, because of amendments we put in, are going to have to report on what they're doing. We were actually able to get some really interesting data. I don't mean like interesting fun. I mean interesting, distressing data. Because the Downtown Partnership, I will say, worked really hard to get public records that a lot of us have tried to get and not been able to parse through and go through and say, how many arrests is this group doing? How many arrests is MNPD doing? Put it in some perspective. I think we have a lot of work based on that data to do with the Downtown Partnership, but also MNPD, frankly, because they were able to drill down and find thousands of arrests that MNPD have made of people who do not have homes. And some of those, it's really hard to tell what was actually happening in the situation and what led to the arrest. And so I think we're going to now continue to work through what's going on there and hopefully have better outcomes for everybody. We also funded some additional social working positions in our pretty narrowly tailored budget this year that will go to help alleviate some of these, and will, I think, have a better handle on this and adjacent issues going forward.
Well, then also there was a major discovery this week about the library fire. I think we all thought it was just a car explosion or something to that extent, but Nashville Scene reported that the fire department investigators believe the Nashville Public Library garage fire originated in a storage room where the Nashville Downtown Partnership allowed contractor Block by Block, who you mentioned earlier, to store equipment, including several tanks typically used to hold flammable gas discovered at the scene. Forgive me when I ask this, but what the F?
I mean, this is an issue I've really dug into a lot, but I think we have a lot of investigatory work left to do. We still don't know the origin of the fire. I think that it's probably likely that items that were stored accelerated whatever that origin was. This is not something we're going to have answers for in the next week or even the next month. And I do think, and I think it's important to note, that I view this differently from the CBID discussion, because this was actually a lease. This was a contract that we had directly with the Downtown Partnership. It wasn't like we were just expecting them to run the garage because of their role with the bid. We as a city had a direct contract relationship with the Downtown Partnership to run this in the courthouse garage.
And that's where I want to interject, though, is that I don't really understand why Metro is so reliant on Nashville Downtown Partnership, especially given what we now know about their lack of accountability. The fact that they haven't delivered their annual reports on CBID management to council in 20 years, it seems like until this week, when y'all put oversight on them, they've sort of been allowed to do whatever they want with impunity and no one checking in on them, and continue to get contracts like the lease for the garage. So it is concerning to me that there doesn't seem to be a competitive process where another group could come in and say, we could do this, but without employing a secret police force or potentially blowing up your garage, and we would turn in our annual budgets.
Yeah. And To that, I would say I'd really like to know why 20 years ago we stopped requiring those budgets. I'd like to know why every single person who came to council before me never asked to see them. I think these are really great questions, right? This is 20 years of what I would call mismanagement of a situation. I would really like to know why we entered into the terms of the lease in 2017 when we did. I think it is fair to say that that lease is not market, and it's not a lease that covered most anything that somebody would want covered in a lease like this. I don't know what bidding process was used. I think that's a great question. I think it kind of leads to who are our good garage operators. And I will say, interestingly, the PMC runs this garage, and of all the garages downtown, this was the one we've received the least complaints about as council members.
It's my favorite garage.
I know.
Oh, it's so sad.
So we talk about who should run it and why different groups should run it. It's certainly a hole for all of us locals who really relied on it. And I think we're going to have a lot to sort out about it.
Well, the other two things that caught my eye this week at council were, first of all, the Metro Arts grant funding formula has been approved, which means we are back on track, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo!
Metro Arts ship has righted. It is floating upon the ocean. Kudos to Executive Director Ashley Batchelder, who does happen to be a friend of mine, but she's killing it over there. And then finally, one vote that kind of flew under the radar. There was a resolution to approve a partnership between Vanderbilt University Medical Center and Metro's Board of Health to provide clinical learning experiences for individuals in the graduate medical education programs for pediatric residency and adult infectious diseases. The LGBTQ caucus at council all voted against this resolution, and many in the LGBTQ plus community were calling for it to fail. And this is due to Vanderbilt University Medical Center's decision to close their LGBTQ health center. I suspect largely in fear that it would run afoul of the federal government. Quin, you've abstained on this vote. As a Metro Human Relations Commissioner, I need to ask, is it okay for Metro to be in business with an entity that is now not upholding standards of dignity and equity for all members of our community?
This was an interesting issue. I was a little disappointed that it was known about for a while. It came through committee, and we could have had a robust conversation around this. And where do we draw the line? I think that's a conversation we should have. I think this is also a unique grant because what's the alternative, right? What is the alternative to this training that we can provide in town? I think all these are questions that should have been brought up in committee. I wish that my colleagues would have done that. The first email that I got about this was Tuesday afternoon, and I thought it was interesting that there were no floor conversations around it or motions
Yeah, that was weird to me too.
I don't understand why this wasn't referred back to committee, and it went very, very quickly. I don't know if you noticed how quickly it went. I think there are conversations that we have to really talk out. This is a really challenging political environment. Is the result of saying we're not going to do this grant that we don't provide pediatric training in an environment where the federal government is also attacking pediatric health and vaccines, right? I think that these are really complex, hard decisions, and it's not easy enough to say, well, an entity has capitulated here and so they get nothing. I think we're all trying to navigate this very challenging, very difficult situation together, but we need to be able to have the conversation.
Hey y'all, it's your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, popping in to tell you all about CityCast Nashville Neighbors, our brand new membership program. We're calling it CityCast Neighbors because we've learned that people who listen to CityCast Nashville are people who care deeply about this city and want to make it better. They're just the kind of neighbors this city needs. It comes with some pretty sweet benefits. CityCast Nashville Neighbors gain access to ad-free podcast listening and a weekly email rounding up our best picks for what to do in Nashville. Plus, we're hosting neighbors-only events like happy hours, local volunteering meetups, and other events where we explore and better our city together. And you get to be a part of the local conversation too by shouting out a local business or nonprofit you love on the show or in the Hey Nashville newsletter. For $10 a month, you can become a CityCast Nashville neighbor today by going to membership.citycast.fm. Y'all, we couldn't make this show without people like you supporting us, and we're so excited for you to be a part of it. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love you.
And we're back. Before we get into more local news, I want to just remind everybody that the clock is ticking on you getting a very cool CityCast Nashville Neighbors tote bag by visiting membership.citycast.fm and becoming a member of this fine organization for just $10 a month or $100 a year. Quin, do you like tote bags?
Do I like tote bags? I have of course, I'm a mom of 3 kids. Do you know how many tote bags? I have a whole bin of tote bags in my laundry room. I love tote bags.
And don't forget, as a member, y'all, you're getting ad-free access to this podcast, a weekly email from our Hey Nashville newsletter editor, Margaret Kingsbury, featuring her amazing curated list of all the best events in town, and of course, access to exclusive members-only events. Maybe we can all go visit Quin's chickens together. No need to respond, Quin. We're doing it. The kind of community we're planning to build is very necessary here, given the next story we want to talk about. According to CNBC, Tennessee has the worst quality of life in the entire country, beating out such notable neighbors as Alabama, Arkansas, and Georgia. This is, they say, thanks to our high crime rate, our state's anti-LGBTQ plus legislation, and our lack of worker protections. The study was done as part of a larger CNBC piece about the best states for business, where Tennessee is ranked 8th. So, worst quality of life, pretty great for business. Quin, could those two things be connected?
I always think these things are interesting. I've lived in rural Kentucky. I went to school in Alabama, and I can tell you that Nashville has a much better quality of life on all of those metrics than the other places I lived. But I didn't live in Jackson, Tennessee, right? I lived in Pikeville, Kentucky, and Montgomery, Alabama, much smaller places with significantly less access to health care, with significantly less access to educational mobility options. And what I think this points out is that in rural Tennessee, it's really hard to live. And we don't think about that a lot in Nashville. Because Nashville, if you can afford to live in Nashville, Nashville feels great. We live in a place where our neighbors are caring, and we have great options to healthcare, and we have good public schools, and we have magnet options, and we have pathways for MNPS students to go to Vanderbilt, right? This is a phenomenal quality of life if you can have it. But it's not what somebody in, say, Smithville is having. There's an incredible amount of inequity in this state. I think that inequity drives political choices. I think that inequity makes it really hard for people to trust any of us in cities because they see what we have and they don't have. And I think we have to do better at reaching out and being a part of our state. I struggle saying that because it's not like somebody in a rural town who's really mad at, quote, Nashville is reaching out and trying to be a better partner with Nashville. But there's a tension there. There's a lack of shared humanity that runs both ways. And what that result is that things that we think could help, say, I'm using Smithville because I drive through it a lot, but you could insert any random town here. Things we think could help there are going to be rejected there because we aren't a trustworthy partner, and vice versa.
I'll tell you what, people from Smithville coming to Nashville, like us locals, they do not appreciate Metropolis parking.
No.
Oh my God, brilliant segue.
Thank you, I did it. So folks, yeah, Metropolis parking continues to expand. This is the Nashville-based parking giant. It's the largest parking operator in the United States. And as anyone who has lived here has probably noticed, they are snapping up empty lots left and right since buying out Premier Parking in 2022. This is despite the fact that everybody hates them. According to the Middle Tennessee Better Business Bureau, I hate them so much. According to the Middle Tennessee Better Business Bureau, Metropolis has an average customer rating of 1.04 stars out of 5.
I don't think I've ever seen a star rating like that. Like, that is bananas.
So yeah, their platform is constantly glitching, as I think a lot of us can attest to. And in this Tennessean article that came out this week, one Nashville musician says he parked in a Metropolis garage, couldn't get the website to work because, they don't have machines anymore. We got to cut those costs. We got to be profitable. He documented the entire experience and was still charged $43 for being bad. He compared the experience to dealing with a payday loan company, which that's not complimentary. They get 1 star too.
According to the Tennessean, while blistering customer complaints have piled up over high parking costs and surprise charges, class action lawsuits challenge a deeper issue, alleging that Metropolis is unlawfully accessing DMV records. Quin, you're a lawyer. Why might that be bad?
I mean, I will say not as a lawyer, just as a human, that's bad. Those are personal records. They're government records. I don't love when private entities can access anything that should be a government record that isn't like a public government record.
Metropolis is not just accessing your DMV records, they are also using AI to track your license plate.
Ew.
And in great news, they have just acquired facial recognition technology. Please tell me everyone can see where this is going.
Yeah, I don't like any of this. But I think the other problem that we see, and just as a traffic and parking commissioner, I would say, if you look at the cost to park in Nashville relative to similar cities, we are exorbitant. And the reason I think fundamentally is because there's a fair amount of monopoly at play. And I think that whenever we're talking about a company that is so big that it can screw up our lives in all these ways, that it can charge prices that should not be market, but for the fact that it controls the entire market, we're looking at a monopoly. We're looking at a problem. We all play a game. It's like, we know that parking can be monopolistic, and we've known that since the game Monopoly was invented. I don't understand how any company can get away with controlling so much of the market that they can do that to us.
Speaking of people doing things to us.
Finally, we've got an update on our reoccurring segment, Where is Andy Ogles trying to get attention today?
Woo!
Congressman Andy Ogles is now calling for an investigation of Belmont University, according to WKRN. He sent a letter to Education Secretary Linda McMahon alleging that Belmont has discussed renaming its DEI programs as Hope, Understanding, and Belonging. He says that leaked videos out of Belmont show their Assistant Director of Student Success and Flourishing saying, "We're trying to create as inclusive a space as possible without attracting notice."
Oh my God, stop the presses. What a crime. Dear God. First of all, way to go, Belmont. That's what I wish everybody was doing. Just rename crap and keep the spirit of what you were trying to do. Quin, do you have any thoughts on our good friend Andy Ogles? I think he's your congressman.
He's not my congressman.
Oh, God bless. Are you in Mark Green?
I am.
Where are
I'm
you?
in Mark Green.
How is that possible?
It's a weird, weird world. So this is interesting because, is Belmont in Andy Ogles' district? Because I live a block from Belmont. I can see it from my house.
Yeah.
I hear the bells. They probably hear my chickens, It's give and take.
Right.
But I think this is interesting. I'm curious how it plays out.
I don't think it's going to play out any more than Andy Ogles calling for an investigation of Mayor Freddie O'Connell has played out. I just don't think it's going to play out. I think we're just looking for attention.
Well, I mean, the mayor's office has certainly had to respond to all that. A federal subpoena is a federal subpoena. I think what I mean by play out is Belmont is not known for having a very liberal or progressive board of trustees. And historically, some of our top Republicans have served on that board of trustees. And so when I say I'm curious to see how this plays out, I think this falls to me into a bucket of Republican on Republican crime. And I like to just sit back when that happens. I don't need to say anything.
The Nashville Scene's annual You Are So Nashville If results are in. This year's entries covered everything from the typical bachelorette party to more niche moments like Ed the Zebra.
Ed!
The first place winner came from Allison Damrotowski, who wrote, "You're on track to have more football stadiums than Super Bowl appearances."
Oh my gosh. It's funny because it's sad. Well, let's go through the list. Marie, did you have some favorites?
Well, yes, Whitney, I did. I just loved all the West End Chili's love, especially since we went to the West End Chili's and did a live podcast there with the Nashville subreddit's biggest troll, Rocket Past 6, aka Mr. Rocket. Be sure to check that out. But I especially liked You Believe the Library Fire was part of a viral marketing campaign for the upcoming ABC smash hit Nashville 911 from Andy Gasparini.
Thanks again to the forthcoming ABC sure-to-be smash hit Nashville 911 for shutting down the entire Korean Vets Bridge last Sunday so that they could pretend a tornado came through, not triggering or annoying at all. One of my faves was You're So Nashville If you say they have a location in Brooklyn. That came from Zach Halfhill. Marie, that feels like one that you qualify for.
Yeah.
And then pursuant to earlier news, your driveway just became a Metropolis lot. That's from Joseph Rapola. It's only a matter of time. And then, yes, we have so much love for Ed the Zebra. And this was my favorite. You didn't blame Ed the Zebra for trying to get out of Tennessee.
Don't blame him.
Quin, did you have a favorite, Yasni?
Look, I always love a good party foul joke. I don't know about anybody else. They may never get old to me. But the one that was used celebrated Quesada's guilty verdict at party foul was my favorite. Probably says more about me than...
No. I'm with you on that boat.
And I just want to mention that there was an in memoriam included in this year's for my dear friend, Charlie Harris. I've known Charlie since he was born. He was basically a cousin of mine. And him and his wife, throughout the years, together would curate their You're So Nashville If. And it just became part of their relationship. It was always so funny to talk about with them when I would see them. And so Charlie sadly passed away last month from cancer. And so they did include some of his best ones that they wrote. And I just want to shout out, I remember reading this one and it just made me, all of his made me chuckle. But in 2019, he wrote, "Your governor doesn't have a stance on insert issue at this time, but he would like you to watch this video of him riding a tractor." I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, but he was such an amazing person and made Nashville a better place. So.
He did. He was a friend to a lot of people. Charlie, we miss you a ton. On to good news. Dun-dun, dun-dun.
Good news.
Good news. What are we doing this weekend?
Open Streets Summer Series.
Yes, it's true. July 20th, Open Streets Summer Series is on Sunday, noon to 5 p.m. It's basically a 5-mile block party. You can bike, you can skateboard, you can roller skate, you can walk. The whole point is to reconnect with your community, just like we're trying to do here at CityCast Nashville Neighbors. We want you to get active, want you to support local businesses. So it's going to loop along the Cumberland through neighborhoods like the Gulch. It's essentially on the Tour de Nash Central Circle, if you do that Tour de Nash bike thing that we do here every year. And it's a great opportunity to get outside. I will be there on my new e-bike.
Ooh, be careful.
That my council member, Sean Parker, came over and put together for me.
That is amazing.
On Wednesday. It's the greatest constituent service of all time. And this is also a PSA to anyone driving this weekend. Please be extra attentive to the roads and crosswalks because there's going to be a whole lot more pedestrian and bike traffic going on. So be conscious of people. Try it out. See what happens. Quin, I bet you love Open Streets.
I am probably not going to the one this Sunday, but there are 2 other ones. So I will be at a later open street. I definitely encourage people to go. I also encourage people to make their own open streets for $20. You can get a permit and open your own street. It's really, really great. Just pull out a hose, turn on a sprinkler, get the kids running in it, throw some popsicles in a cooler, meet your neighbors. It is the way to live.
That is an amazing idea. We should have a CityCast Nashville.
For CityCast Nashville Neighbors.
Open street.
Yeah.
We're going to do it. And then, Marie, we're throwing it to you for the last big thing of the week.
Oh, my goodness. Tonight, the Dolly musical, the world premiere of the Dolly musical, opens at the Fisher Center for Performing Arts. I am seeing it later this month, and I will report back my thoughts without hopefully giving too many spoilers. But I just want to say, this is so exciting. There's new songs that no one has ever heard. There's old songs that people love. Jolene, 9 to 5, all these songs are going to be in it. And then I do want to just shout out International Market, my favorite restaurant across the street. There are still some reservations available, but they're going fast. That's the insider information that you only get here on CityCast Nashville.
Wait, so you can go eat at International Market and then go see Dolly tonight? Is that something we can do?
Well, actually, Whitney, no, not tonight because reservations are gone. But if you make your plans ahead of time, like I did, you can make your reservations earlier. And the musical runs through the end of August. So again, you have plenty of time to buy those tickets. There are some available, and make those reservations at International Market.
Quin, this is literally across the street from your house. Are you so excited?
I really wish I was going. Dolly deserves so much more than a musical, but I'm really happy that she's getting this, and I hope people will go see it.
Well, this has been great, Quin. We're so glad you were here. Even our producer, Daniel, has commented before on how much he appreciates your perspective from inside of what's happening at Metro Council and what's going on in the city. So you are so smart. We're so glad you were here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I could talk about, wonky government stuff all day, and I love getting to do it with some of my favorite people.
And tell your kids thank you from us. And we also want to thank all of our new CityCast Nashville neighbors. We have some shout outs to do. Brian B., Callie W., Tom C., Christopher C., Lane Y., and Vanessa H. Welcome to the neighborhood. Thank you all so much for joining. And folks at home, you do not want to be left out. Go ahead and join us too for only $10 a month or $100 a year at membership.citycast.fm. And one of the big perks for joining as a CityCast Nashville neighbor is that every single week we are going to shout out neighborhood recommendations from these neighbors. So here are this week's. Dominique M. shouts out Madtown Coffee for being a safe space with great food. You can add open seat place cards to your table to welcome others. Well, that's cool. Anna S. shouts out Qbox, a local small business building affordable, custom, reusable, eco-friendly packaging solutions for moving and shipping of all kinds. Wow, that is really cool. And then Judith T. shouts out The Contributor, which offers our unhoused neighbors immediate access to income and helps them rebuild their lives. Y'all should know about The Contributor by now. We have had Judith T. on a couple times to talk about The Contributor, so go back and re-listen to those episodes and share with your friends and family. If you too are listening and you want to shout out your neighborhood faves, go ahead, join us right here at membership.citycast.fm. Become a neighbor today. Be able to shout out your favorite local business or nonprofit every single week. Join in on the conversation. And like we said, this is the last week to get that founding member tote bag. Again, join us today at membership.citycast.fm. That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson. Our executive producer is Whitney Pastorek. Our producer is Daniel Sumstein. Our Hey Nashville newsletter editor is Margaret Kingsbury, and our theme music is by Prof Jenkins, with additional music by James from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!